Build yourself a team that will perform exactly how you expect them to. You don't even need the extra words. You can expect them to perform exactly what you need them to do, the way you need them to, every single time. Even if shit breaks, you know exactly what they're going to do. They know exactly what they're going to do, and you can count on each other to perform as necessary. At a job, you don't always get the luxury of choosing who your coworkers are. So if you have a position of authority, take it seriously. People are relying on you, and no one wants to live their life with a bunch of backstabbing friends. So no one wants to go to work with a bunch of backstabbing bootlickers. Oh, well, the boss likes me. Shut up. I won't like you. I have let people go who are honestly the best performers, but they're complete jerk-offs, and it made everyone else working there hate it. So, I don't care who you are, Michael Jordan, or just some random kid. If you are a basketball player and you are terrible to be around, you're going to lose every single game because your teammates don't trust you, and the opponents, the other businesses in your same niche, the other people looking for your job, your opponents will see that weakness, that ego of self-importance, and they'll tackle you, they'll go after you. And whether it's directly a sports team, whether it's directly other applicants, other businesses, competitors, someone will take advantage of your weaknesses. And you as the boss, you as the owner, you as the entrepreneur, you as the mentor, it's your responsibility to create an environment that doesn't happen.
I think it's just like being more comfortable and just being like your genuine self and not giving a shit what people think. And I think that also ties into like, again, the spending habits. Like you don't give a shit what people think, so you're not gonna buy Gucci or Prada or Ray-Ban sunglasses. I'll buy some, Goodwoods, or there's some like something woods on Amazon. They're like $20 sunglasses. I'm like, I'll buy those instead of, oh,
Those electric mopeds are so
I
popular
thought
now.
they like multiply every day.
Yeah.
They're like they just go around the corner and spawn new ones
Yeah.
every like 2 days.
Every time a kid gets hit on one, two more appear.
Yeah, it's like the dragons that you slay a head and it grows two more. That's what happens to the kids on the electric bikes. Every time they have an accident or something happens, they just spawn two more. What are those called? Those motorcycles? Huh?
Oh, the
The
motorcycles?
the little electric bikes.
Do you know?
Whatever the electric motorcycles are. 5 of them just passed by. 6. I couldn't even count. They were going so fast. Anyways, yeah, I think it spins into the bullshit. Like, don't buy fancy electric bike. Actually, that looks pretty fun.
Yeah, honestly.
Probably buy electric bikes and go goon with your friends.
If it's like
Sorry, not goon. Hoon. Hoon with your friends.
You really
Sorry,
derailed me there. That's
Yeah.
That's the hat, guys.
Yeah,
Jay says goon with
Goon with
your
your
friends.
friends. Yeah, I think it's full circle. It's like then you don't care what people think, so you're not buying dumb stuff. Or like dumb stuff that doesn't matter. It doesn't bring value.
Yeah.
Like name brand shirts, and again, I'm wearing Sharks. These were like probably $15 years ago.
Got this. It's a nice leather Levi's jacket, but I got it from a photo shoot.
Yeah.
A lot of times the main house is fine, so you end up doing these renovations and remodels, and you just keep what is good and what is working and get rid of everything that's not quite working the best. So in this case, we got one of our trucks here. We're hauling off everything that doesn't work. Same thing that you should be doing with your business. Keep what works. Don't redo crap that you don't have to, but anything that's not serving the most optimum purpose, get rid of it, scrap it, make space, and spend your resources, time, and energy on what does work. So if there's something you can do, you need to evaluate whether it's something you should do, and if you shouldn't, then you should stop. I'm way too proud of myself. That was stupid. But yes, if you can do it, that doesn't necessarily mean you should. And if there's someone who can do it for the same cost or similar cost, but you actually get to spend your time on something more lucrative, more beneficial, or more on brand, then just do that.
It starts with a true understanding of who they are. And I think we have a lot of problems with people not being fully transparent with themselves
Yeah.
and understanding really where their strengths are. And so that's why the first two modules that we go through is not just the why, but it's also like who you are as a person. Like, who are you aligned with? Who are the agents that you feel like would fit your typical agent avatar? Like, it's diving into that, the core values, the things that make up who you are. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of filter out that nonsense and noise that we get all the time from social media and that's out there all the time, and go, we're going to have some really raw, open conversations that are transparent. And then from there, we can build something. We can build something amazing, but you can't build anything unless you really know who you are as a person. And you can't go in and open up a company where you are sponsoring people and you are teaching them to do something and giving them some level of autonomy to build something great for themselves if you can't be fully transparent with these people.
Yeah, you're expecting them to go on their own and figure all of this out, but you
Right.
haven't even been genuine yet, and you want their
Absolutely.
genuine trust.
Mm-hmm. And
Oh,
that is something I get all the time from agents. They'll go, well, this brokerage promised me leads. They promised me this. They promised me that. They promised I'd make a lot of money, and it's not happening. And I'm going, these brokers are literally setting themselves up for failure from the very first conversation.
there's a few really important things that most contractors convolute or get wrong, and ultimately they end up paying for it in leads, revenue generation, and everything else. The idea of selling your time is a very good perspective to have when you're bidding jobs, processing, managing, being a leader. But ultimately, when you go to sell your product or service to a client, don't sell your time to them. They don't care about your time. They don't know what it's worth. It's not relevant to them. If you can position yourself as, here is the result that you get, here is the payoff you get when you work with me, you turn it into more of a jackpot situation for them. This big open field, we've only worked with this person a couple times, and both times didn't actually initially like our price at all, but immediately next day ended up calling us out. It's not like we were the only bid, but it's the fact that I could show her exactly what the end result was going to be, the payoff, and I know that she has a budget in mind. And immediately she realized, I'm not going to have to babysit these people. I'm not going to have other hiccups here and there. I'm not piecemealing a la carte every part of this service. I'll call them out. And they show up when they say they will, and they're warranted, they're bonded. All of those pieces were after she already realized the payoff.
There's a theory out there that says buy 2 houses a year for the first 10 years. After 10 years, sell the worst 10, pay off the best 10, and then you're done.
Makes sense.
Right? So
That
you
honestly
can
makes a lot of
typically
sense.
you can get finance to a year. You can do seller financing, which is, sometimes the terms are better once you start
Yeah.
getting more and more mortgages. But after 10 years, you own 20 properties. You're going to have your favorites. You're going to have your least favorites. Get rid of your least favorites because you're going to make mistakes along the way. Pay off your best 10 and you are done in 10 years.
We really started this off strong. That is a good one.
Thanks.
First clip initiated.
You need help. You need help when you're doing this kind of thing. If you sort of wild west seller financing, you can get in trouble. You can make a mistake and, lose your money, lose your house.
Yeah, you can lose your actual investment, but also open yourself up to lawsuits because you're
Absolutely.
not well versed in it.
Yeah.
The last several of these that we've done, we've ended up harping on, don't try to be the expert and do everything yourself.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it applies to every single field.
Every single field.
So if you ever have someone who's giving you advice, solid advice, and you begin to take it for granted, believe me, it'll hurt when they move on. And they won't necessarily move on because you're a terrible person or you weren't appreciating them enough. 9 times out of 10, if you found a mentor that is worth following and chasing, you have to follow and chase to keep up. If you aren't also making that kind of movement in your life, they will leave you. Think about the function of how they do what they do. Think about the function of how you are doing what you do. And if they genuinely are someone you should be looking up to, you'll know it because you need to be improving yourself constantly to follow them. If you have someone you think is a mentor, and you've both stayed in the same place for a year, 5 years, I hate to break it to you, they're not your mentor. That's just a convenient friend. That's complacency. I'm not saying you can't have friends. What I am saying is if you have locked your brain into viewing someone as your teacher, your mentor, you need to make sure that you're not just paying for a friend.
It's a weird phenomenon, I think, now, because like we're going through a generation of what I call lottery winners in this year. Because like we have so many people that are making this huge shoot of money real quick. And like lottery winners, right? Because your mindset or because your systems aren't in place, what you end up in is a worse position than when you first ever had the money.
And
So
now
like,
you know the difference too, so it hurts double.
yeah. Like now you're working at Chick-fil-A when you were on like talk shows and I'm thinking of a specific person in my head, but I can't think of his name. But the guy who used to do the dances and stuff, like he was on talk shows and everything, and he found himself working in a restaurant, and he's like, how do I? It's that lottery winner, right? Like we made the money, but because we didn't put anything in place, like now we're worse off. Also with kids that are going into like college now, before when we were growing up, they weren't paying for college players. Now they're paying college players and they're paying them pretty good.
Yeah.
Does that kill their drive to try to go to the next level to the NFL if they're getting paid a good amount here at this level? For some, yeah. But also it's like, hey, for these kids that will make the money during these 4 or 5 years of college, now when you get out, you didn't grow a skill or translate that into anything else, you're another lottery winner. So we work with those people to try to get them back, like you said.
Yeah.
Let's get here at least.
You can't half-ass this kind of stuff. When someone has very strong branding, it's because they're committed to it. And if you're getting lackluster results, you can't just say, "Oh, branding doesn't work." What are you considering branding? I use the color red and peach, and I like this italic font. That's not branding. When you approach business, you have to add a level of psychology to it above what the general public uses for themselves. The whole point of having a brand or being a thought leader in some type of way is because you have strong identity. Say that you run a shoe company and you make your whole life about this because you, as the business owner, as the founder, as the entrepreneur, if you are able to just all in yourself every day, you are completely focused on your goal related to that, it's impossible to fake that. And everyone will pick up on those signals. And inherently, you become a master of that field, and whatever your specific job or goal or anything is, you become so well versed that it flows naturally from you when any discussion is coming up about it. So you don't have to force anything. That doesn't come from cheap alternatives and scrolling on social media and going to the bar late at night. That comes from being an authority figure. So if you want strong branding, you need to time fund yourself, but you need to dedicate the actual passion needed to be that authority figure.
Most people have a how am I going to do this mindset? And you need to change that to who can help me do this?
Yeah. Who, not how.
And it's exactly who, not how. And so if you can get your mindset to, there are a lot of great people in the Central Texas area. They are experts in all different divisions, right? Operations, accounting, construction. A lot of them want to grasp onto something and believe in something. And so if you're a 3-year-old company, you probably don't have many people, or maybe just yourself. I would put something out there like, what do you not like to do in finance, accounting, or operation? Because there's somebody out there who's willing to jump onto a small company where they're going to make it, they're going to be important, make impactful decisions, help the company grow. We pitch like we want to create leaders, right?
Yeah.
We want people to know that we are growing so that your career is growing. And so for that 3-year-old company, you may not want to do the financing part. Well, find somebody to do financing. They don't require much. A salary is a scary item because it can be $70, $80, $90, $100,000. But when you break it into 12 months and then you split it into 3 jobs, it becomes very digestible.
Yeah. Trying to convince people to buy your service or product is kind of like chasing after someone who's already cheating on you. I'm not saying you can't make that relationship work, but there are plenty of people who actually want what you have to offer, and you don't have to fight to convince them of that. There's no good reason for you to be struggling to keep a client's attention or get them to close on a sale. Don't chase after bad clients. You know, those almost without fail end up being the ones that you have a million late night calls with. Oh, well, I need this change, and oh, well, actually, I wanted this done too, and scope creep sets in, and they're never going to be satisfied anyways, because their game isn't to have what you are offering. Their game is to have as much as they can take, as much as they can get, because either they're not clear on what they want, or they are clear and you're just a tool, which is fine. But generally, you probably don't want to fight for that as a client, because there are plenty of people who need the solution that you offer. So don't be afraid to turn down business or say no to business. Those people will consume so much of your time that you won't be able to serve to other people who actually do want to work with you, who aren't going to make your life a living hell.